Everybody out there can hear me?
Yeah, yes, Bhante, we can hear.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with reciting the Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like to join that. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. So welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. So I see not too many people have tuned in yet, but so on Monday, well, how many of you out there were able to come to our Wesak celebration that we had on last Friday and Saturday here at the Lion of Wisdom Center in Maryland? And it was really turned out to be a very big event. I think over 1,000 people had come each night, and it was for 2 nights, and it was the most people we've ever had here at one time. And it was more like a carnival, a Wesak carnival with, free food stalls and, pandals and some plays about the life of the Buddha. And, but it was more of a festive type of thing. And actually Wesak Day was on Monday. And that's why I chose to tonight, instead of going over a specific sutta, I was going to say talk a little bit about the meaning of the Vesak. Now, most of you probably do know the meaning of the Vesak. And it occurs on the full moon day in May, and it's a remembrance, or I don't know if you call it a celebration, but anyway, a reflection and a remembrance of the 3 auspicious events in the life of the Buddha: the birth of the Buddha, then his attainment of supreme enlightenment and the transcendence of samsara, the extraction from the web of karma, the attainment of liberation, and then his final parinibbana, or leaving this world not to be reborn again. And basically, that's based on the previous lives of the Buddha. That it is said that the Buddha had started the life of being a bodhisattva, which means a being bound for enlightenment. I think let's say 540 or more lifetimes previous. And I'm not going to go into details because you can read that quite in many other sources when the Buddha made a vow, or the ascetic made a vow to attain enlightenment in front of a previous Buddha. And so for over 400, 500 lifetimes, he was perfecting what are called the 10 paramitas, qualities that are needed for the mind to, become purified from, and to purify the web of karma that we create in our mind and attain liberation, and especially as a Buddha. So he was a bodhisattva, he was sort of the original bodhisattva, coming back over and over and over again to take birth, to complete the path to Buddhahood. Anyway, so in the last lifetime, when he was born as Siddhartha Gautama, it's not he was just an ordinary person, he was born, no. He had been, working and coming back for many lifetimes with the goal of attaining Buddhahood for the sake of all living beings. So anyway, so the birth of his last life as Siddhartha Gautama, that was to be his, last earthly incarnation or birth in samsara. So, and he did so for the sake of all living beings. And in other words, he underwent all those lifetimes perfecting the paramitas where he could have attained just ordinary arahantship and liberation much sooner. But he took that path to the bodhisattva to achieve the full Buddhahood, so he would have the potent power and the wisdom and all the other perfections in order to become the supreme teacher that he became. So, and that means his sacrifice of remaining in samsara for many hundreds of lifetimes came to fruition by taking that last birth to where he would become the Buddha. So that the birth of is one of those events on the full moon day. And then, as most of you know, he for 6 long years he was an ascetic and practicing meditation, and then finally attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. And then after teaching the Dhamma for 45 years and establishing the Sangha and the Buddhist dispensation that has lasted all these 2,500 years, he passed away into parinibbana. That means the mind dissolved and it was no longer to be reborn in any state. So these are the three events that all are said to have occurred on a full moon day in May. Not on the same day, of course, but he was born, and then 35 years later, he attained enlightenment. And then 45 years later, when he was 80 years old, he attained the parinibbana, or left this the samsara, permanently. Now, I wanted to kind of talk about sort of what these three events could mean for us, to sort of see the being able to relate to these three events, not just as it happened to somebody else. But, the Buddha said he was not a god, and that every person actually has the ability to awaken from the ignorance and tread the path to extricating the mind from samsara. That means the web of karma that our minds have been weaving for many, many lifetimes and enduring birth and death over and over again. So, so taking birth. Now, all of us here, we've become born naturally, and we're born in different places. And some of you are born in Buddhist countries and Buddhist families, and some of you are not, like myself, and many of you who were, born here in America and so on. But you become interested in the Dhamma. Now, it is said that, especially being born in countries where the Dhamma was not available, let's say more than 50 years ago, where the Dhamma was not available in America, there wasn't much opportunities for Americans or people in non-Buddhist countries to learn about the Buddhist teaching. And even for myself, I didn't even hear about the Buddha until I was, 22 years old, and that was because, taking a world religions class in junior college. But anyway, but the fact that we became interested in the teachings of the Dhamma usually is considered to be that we were, had some connection with the Dhamma in a past life. Because out of all the Americans who were born, in the last 50 or 60 years, because of the culture and the dominance of other religions, very few have become Buddhists and have taken up the path of the Dhamma, sort of in a more serious way. So that in itself is the way that I perceive it, is that, you had the karmic conditions, the right karmic conditions to become interested in the Dhamma at a relatively young age and stick with it for, so long, because relatively very few people have done that. And so we usually attribute that to having exposure to the Dhamma from the past. And that connection, we reconnected to it. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, that's another thing. But that's the way that I, in my own experience, how I kind of related to that, the way that I found the Dhamma and so on. But anyway, so we've taken birth into this life, and you become interested in the Dhamma. That means you want to do something about your mind. You want to change some of the habits in your mind. You want to gain inner wisdom, or for whatever reasons. Everybody perhaps have different reasons why they become interested in the Dhamma. But it's basically to because the Dhamma offers us a path, and especially the practice of meditation, where we can do something about changing the way that we think and changing the way that some of our bad habits, and hopefully, discovering the subtler or spiritual realms of consciousness that we, read about. And so, but basically using the Dhamma to free ourselves from unhealthy habits that keep ourselves sort of recreating problems for ourselves through the way that we think, speak, and live. So the fact that we've taken birth and we've gained that interest in the practice of the Dhamma, so to be thankful that we got born in a place where we could recontact the Dhamma in whatever way that, you personally have come into contact with it. So, and then practicing, the teachings of the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, the Noble Eightfold Path, and developing, the practices of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, and, following the precepts and developing your mind, especially with the meditation. Because the practice of Buddhist meditation is all about learning how to retrain our mind to live in accordance with the law of harmony, to live in harmony with the laws of nature around ourselves as well as within ourselves. So, and the insights that you get through the practice of meditation, this is the Buddha attaining enlightenment, that he and liberation from samsara. And samsara is basically just the repetition of our negative thoughts of self-centered thoughts and greed, hatred, and delusion that keeps our mind, repeating its various types of habits that keep our mind in a very narrow viewpoint, or just going around in circles like a dog chasing its tail, trying to find some kind of happiness or meaning in this life. So the practice of Dhamma gives us a way to come to that state of freeing our mind. Now, whether all of us are going to attain full enlightenment or not in this lifetime, that's another matter. Maybe not, but at least to become firmly planted on the path of the Dhamma. And the more that we practice the Dhamma, in this life, like taking refuge. People who have taken refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and then, to dedicate their life in trying to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. And the more that you do that, then the more it becomes embedded in your mind, and especially going down into the unconscious mind. Like each Wednesday, we start with reciting Namo Tassa in the three refuges, taking refuge in the Buddha, refuge in the Dhamma, refuge in the Sangha. Now, why do we keep repeating that all the time? Because we want it to go deeply down into the bedrock of our unconscious mind and to become fully established there with that memory, so that it's in your mind when you come to the time of death, whether it's through old age or whether it's through some untimely accidents or and so on, that a person gets sick or dies, that we don't know when that will come. So to have that understanding of the Dhamma in our mind when we die is going to help us reconnect to the Dhamma in the next life. So that and that possibility that at least like becoming a stream enterer in this life, entering the stream where the mind is no longer able to fall back into its negative ways. That's ultimately kind of the goal that most Buddhists should at least strive for. Now, there's a lot of people think, even attaining, nobody can attain us entering the stream in this life. There's too much sin in the world. Well, I don't think that that's true. But some people use that as a default mechanism not to, give it their fullest attention and practice. So, that's why, when we remember those three phases of the Buddha's life, the birth, and then the enlightenment, we've taken birth in this life and we've made contact with the Dhamma, and we want to make, progress in freeing our minds from greed, hatred, and delusion, and from that sticky web of karma that we've gotten caught up into ever since we were, a child, in using the Dhamma guidelines. And then the Buddha passing away. It is said that when the Buddha, during the life of the Buddha, when he was, about 79 years old, he he said that he could live for much longer, but he decided to pass away at 80 years old. And part of that was he didn't want people to be too dependent on him and thinking that he was a god and that he could live forever. Although he said that he could go on living for a much longer time, but he wanted to appear to be, to let go of that attachment to the world. And he had completed his mission and attained the Buddhahood. And so he wanted each person to not to cling to his body and wanting him to stay around, but to take the Dhamma as their refuge and use that Dhamma and the teachings that he had taught for 45 years and establish the order, of the monastic order that has been passed down unbroken all these centuries. So anyway, the passing away of the Buddha was to illustrate that even somebody like the Buddha is subject to old age and death. And so that we ourselves are going to die, but we don't know when, because our karma is such that we don't know what karmic kind of blocks and so on are deep within our mind. So, but not to be, scared of having fear about death and leaving this world. So even the passing away of the Buddha is celebrated because, he wasn't attached to this world, and if his karmic time was up, he gladly let it go. But knowing that he, had attained liberation. So for ourselves too, is to overcome, using the Dhamma to overcome any kind of fear of death, and to accept that, it could occur at any time, because people die when they're, 1 year old, they die at 5 years old, 10 years old, and people are dying up to over 100 years old, and that's so largely due to their karma. And it's, death is the only thing certain in life. Life is not certain. Because, the time of death is not certain, the way we die is not certain, and where we'll die is not certain. And so to be ready for when that happens, so we won't be surprised or we won't have any regrets, and we can joyously let go of this world so the mind can hopefully, be released from samsara altogether. So these are the kind of the ways that we should reflect, on the Vesak. Not just see it as things that happen to the Buddha, but reflect on our own life and what we're doing in our own life to, to honor all of that, that sacrifice that the Buddha went through for so many hundreds of lifetimes, perfecting the paramitas in order so that he could have the power to spread the Dhamma that has actually lasted all these 2,600 years, despite everything else. The Dhamma has lasted, and now with the advent of the internet, the Buddhist teachings are able to spread around the world, since the availability of the Buddhist teaching is much more prevalent now than, I basically had to go to India to come into contact with the Dhamma, you might say. But nowadays people don't have to do that. But so anyway, these are just some things I wanted to share with you about reflection on the meaning of Vesak. And this Sunday, actually, even after the two last Friday and Saturday night, the Vesak festival, we're going to have a more subdued, typical Vesak ceremony here at the Lion of Wisdom. with some Dhamma talks and pujas and so on, and hopefully some meditation. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you this evening. And now, if any of you have any questions about, any of that, or about the Vaisakha, the meaning of those three events of the Buddha's life, or some other related questions, Dhamma questions, and we could look at those. So I see a raised hand, Dragon Yogi. You have a question?
Yes, good evening, Bhante. Gratitude and appreciation. The question had to do with how we can incorporate the 10 paramitas.
The 10 paramitas.
We can incorporate them into life and make them a part of our day-to-day.
Well, the paramitas, all those, I'm not going to repeat the whole list of them because I
Sure.
have it memorized, but, all of those things that the paramitas are contained within the Buddhist teaching. Okay. If you were to read all of the suttas of the Buddha, you would come across, mention of almost all of those topics, such as dana, sila, concentration, patience, determination, metta, truthfulness. All these things are already embedded or enshrined in the Noble Eightfold Path in one of those, 8 steps of the Noble Eightfold Path, and the practices, they're all contained there within.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. Dushanti, you have a question?
Yes, Bhante. Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a couple of questions. The first one is, at what point does a bodhisattva is able to choose to not become fully enlightened?
Repeat that again, please.
Yeah, at what point does a bodhisattva is able to choose to not become fully enlightened to help other beings? Like, is at a point of being a sotapanna, or at what level can you choose this path?
Well, there might be some differences of opinion on that topic. Now, according to the strict Theravada teachings, if somebody attains the stream entry, that means at the very most they would have 7 more lifetimes to be reborn. Now, that would go against the traditional, or at least the interpretation of the Mahayana vow, the Bodhisattva vow. So in Mahayana teachings, especially in the Tibetan teachings, it's very pronounced, and the vow in the Mahayana is, they're developing the path to Buddhahood with the desire not to attain their own nirvana or to terminate samsara for themselves, but to continue being reborn over and over and over again indefinitely until they say, until every last being has attained enlightenment. Now, that's an idealistic kind of thing. In reality, we're not sure how that's going to work out. So, this idea about being a bodhisattva and following the Theravada, now according to Mahayana, that's a kind of a misnomer. But, in the Theravada, we don't necessarily want to prolong our lifetimes in samsara, but it's going to happen anyway, because everyone is not going to, even Sotapannas could have up to 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 more lifetimes and they can be practicing as a bodhisattva in that period of time, if you want to look at it that way. But it's about the motivation that you yourself make, and the way that you practice. So that's why in Theravada, you have to practice the precepts in a more diligent way, because that is what's going to, if we go on accumulating karma, that's going to be the fuel for more and more rebirth. Now, if one really wants to terminate samsara quickly, then one has to then perfect the sila, samadhi, and the panya. But there's a lot of scholars and others will have a lot of various differences of opinion and arguments this way and that as to which is the best path and so on. I don't like to get into those arguments myself. I think it's a personal choice.
Thank you.
But technically speaking, a Mahayana, so whose follower wants to follow the path of becoming a fully enlightened Buddha, then they wouldn't want to attain stream entry, because that would limit them to just a few limited rebirths. I mean, idealistically speaking, to use that viewpoint.
Thank you, Bhante. What's the difference between parinibbana and nibbana, or are they the same thing?
Parinibbana?
Yes,
Parinibbana is usually referred to the last lifetime of an arahant. Whereas a sotapanna or a once returner or never returner, they've attained a partial nibbana. But so parinibbana means complete full nibbana, where they've cut the bounds to samsara and they're not born again. But even a never returner is born into one of the pure abodes, and and as I already mentioned, the sotapanna could be reborn up to 7 times until he purifies the remaining, fetters in the mind.
Okay, thank you, Bhante. And then you mentioned the full moon are auspicious days because it represents when the Buddha attained parinibbana. But there's also 2 other events. What were those 2 other events?
In the Buddha's life?
Yes.
For Wesak?
Yes.
A birth.
Okay.
Birth is the first one, because he chose to be reborn to become a Buddha. So that's why people appreciate that. If he hadn't been reborn to become a Buddha, we might not have had Buddhism. I mean, that's one argument that, could be put forth.
Okay.
So that's why the birth is considered that he made that sacrifice. He could have in the previous lifetime attained, complete Nibbana if he wanted to, but he chose to be reborn this one time to become the Buddha for the sake of teaching the Dhamma and establishing the Dhamma that's lasted 2,500 years. So that's why the birth is considered it was a blessing to the humanity. And then his attaining enlightenment, that he gave up the palace life. Look, he was born as a prince. He could have been a king, but he forsook all that, forsook all that to take the path of renunciation. So that's why his enlightenment, and that he attained enlightenment and showed that every person could attain enlightenment. That's why his enlightenment is one of those 3 auspicious. He showed that it could be done. And then passing away, that he, even with that, he let go of wanting to be reborn anymore. So those are the 3 events.
Thank you, Bhante. I'll give Douglas a moment, otherwise I'll keep going. Thank you so much.
Douglas in Brogno, do you have a question?
Yes, Bhante, good to see you. What is our responsibility to the greater world as we pursue uh, relief from samsara? I mean, it's been said that samsara can't be fixed, but at the same time, we're living in this extremely intense, emotionally challenging political time right now, and it would be just very easy to turn off and turn away from it. But as practitioners, as people who are looking to purify their mental streams, what is our responsibility to the wider world?
To first to develop our mind where we can make a positive contribution to the world, but without creating more suffering for ourselves. So, there's this movement called engaged Buddhism, whereas previously the idea of meditators and Buddhists, they just sat around, wanting to just meditate and disengage from the world. And that's how normally people relate to, let's say, the Theravada Buddhists, or the idea of the person wanting to become just an arhat for themselves. But so we need to practice the Dhamma to purify our own mind, but to help others and to do good in the world, like practicing dana and sila. By practicing for ourselves, we help others too. Like, if you stop telling lies and stealing and hurting others, we help others, right? Because we're removing our negative actions from the big pot of greed, hatred, and delusion. So in that way, we help others. Even though it looks like we're selfish, we're sitting around meditating, but in that meditation, spending hours and hours, years and years meditating, we're hopefully, reducing and eliminating the negative vibrations that cause so much suffering in the world. So in that way, we're helping the world indirectly. So there's direct things that we can do. Sure, you can go to protest, you can vote, you can write petitions to end this and that. There's so many good causes out there in the world. But if you do that with attachment and then wind up getting angry if people don't do what you like, or doing things that are going to cause you to get him imprisoned or other kind of things, and each person can make those decisions upon themselves. So basically, each person has to make those decisions on how far they want to follow the idea of the bodhisattva and helping the world. Like, running a meditation center, that's a benefit for the world. So how many people come, the Bhavana Society and other places and have benefited by the teaching of the monks that have chosen this path. Now, had we gone out there and been actively engaged, we might not have had the kind of inner resources where we could do these kind of things that help people too.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Kim, do you have a question?
Yes, Bhante. I followed the precepts. I don't smoke or drink anymore or anything like that. But I still just feel like I have so many attachments that would preclude me from stream entry. And yeah, it just seems like I have difficulty with that, I guess. It's like even just craving my morning cup of tea or something, it's just, it seems like there's so much.
Yeah, but don't make an overly burden. having a cup of tea, having some small attachments, as long as it doesn't hurt others, it's probably not going to be too big of a deal. It's when those attachments cause us to tell lies, to cheat, steal, physically harm others, or intoxicate our minds and then do foolish things. That's where, it's going to be detrimental. Now, even though you might not attain the stream entry in this life, there's something called the Dharma striver. So as much as you practice in this life, even if you don't attain stream entry, if you die with your mind remembering the Dhamma and having studied enough and practiced meditation enough where you have that ability to die in a mindful and peaceful place, then it's highly likely that you will be attracted in the next life to a place where you will more quickly come to the Dhamma. And so that alone is a good thing. So like the majority of practitioners, in this country now, with so many of the Buddhists, that's what they're doing by practicing sila, following the precepts, by gaining some understanding of the Dhamma, by taking refuge. These are the kind of powerful mental vibrations that when you die are going to help the mind be attracted to a place where it will hopefully be able to reconnect to the Dhamma at a younger age and have favorable conditions for that. So that's how I see probably the majority of practitioners in the that are practicing the Dhamma, that think it's that's those things are beyond them. They might be or they might be not, but at least there's that alternative. Whatever we practice in Dhamma is not going to be lost.
That's great to know. Thank you. I really appreciate your clear, concise answers. You've really made a big difference in my practice.
Well, okay, friends. So I think we've explored that topic to a good extent now, and so let us take a few minutes, get ready for our session of yoga and then meditation practice. Okay? See you back in a few minutes. Okay, friends, try to stand straight, relax your arms at the side. Close your eyes. Just focus on your feet pressing the floor. And feel the weight and the height of the body over the feet. Relax your arms at the sides. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Bring your attention to the present moment of the body. Feel your head balanced on top. Feel your eyes resting in the eye socket. From that point on the eyes, feel the outline of the standing body. Head on top, arms to the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. Try to hold that outline of the body in the mind's eye. And begin some deep, slow breathing. You know, the three-part breathing, do that. Drawing the air from the lower lungs up to the top of the lungs, expanding the upper chest. Hold the air in for 2 seconds. And slowly breathe out, feeling the last bit of air go out. Just take a few more deep, slow breaths like that, developing this present moment mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath a moment. Breathing out, standing here and now. Feel the last bit of air go out. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to combine this breathing with these movements, stretching movements. So on the next in breath, raise the hands over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten your arms, stretch the head back, stretch upwards. And release the fingers on the out breath, arms back to the sides. Feel the last bit of air go out as the arms come down. And the next in breath, again. Stretch the hands up, bend back a little bit. Feel the arch in the lower spine. Feel the sensation. Out breath, hands back to the sides. Let the air go out. Once more in. Stretch up, bend back a little more, hold it longer. Out breath. Feel the last bit of air go out and relax. Feel the longer pause. Come back into standing, standing. Feel the increased body sensation. Deep breathing and coordinated stretching. Cells of the body getting activated with oxygen and blood. letting go of your thoughts. And the next in breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms over the head in this way. Face the hands toward each other, stretch up. On the out breath, come back down, arms to the side. You feel the last bit of air go out as the arms come down. Use the next in breath to help lift up the body. Stretch out. Once more in. Stretch. Out. Let the air go out. Relax. Feeling the increased sensation. Letting your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keep the sensation body in the front of the awareness. Clearly touching the outer skin. Subtler life force sensations under the skin. Next we'll do the side bendings. On the in-breath, raise both arms up. Keep your fingers and arms straight. On the out-breath, bend over the right side. Keep the arms parallel to each other. In-breath, lift up. And the other side, out-breath. In. Keep alternating sides with the breathing. Once more to each side. The out breath, lower the arms, close the eyes, keep feeling the body, head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. Present moment, body centered awareness. Remember standing, standing, standing. Next we'll do the squatting or knee bending. On the next in-breath, again lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms up front for balance. On the out-breath, bend the knees and lower down, balancing on the balls of the feet. And come down into the squatting position if you can. And take a deep breath. Feel the muscles in the legs pushing the body up. On the toes. In out breath. In. Out. In. Out breath, relax. Feel the increased heartbeat, with the pulsations. Feel any prickly sensations, aches or pain. Remember standing, standing, standing. Now spread the legs apart, about 3 feet. Hold the arms out to the sides. We'll do the twisting from right to left. Give the spinal column a lateral twist. Loosen up the vertebrae. We'll breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand, going back. In breath, come back to the front. Let your feet turn a bit and then twist to the other side. Out breath. In breath. Keep alternating sides like that with breathing. Out breath. In. Out. In. Once more to each side. The out breath, lower the arms. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Don't give the mind time to wander in thoughts. Body's always right here, right now. Billions of cells all vibrating. Present moment, body-centered awareness. Clothing touching the outer skin. Tingling or prickly sensation, pulsation. The inner life force. Standing, standing. Now place the hands together at the chest. In the in-breath, hands over the head. On the out-breath, lower the hands to the chest and bend the knees. Lower down to keep the back upright. And stretch the knees and hips. On the in-breath, come back up. Muscles of the legs pushing up. Hands over the head. Again, out breath. And come down a little farther. In. Out. And out breath. Close the eyes. Feel each foot pressing the floor. The arms and hands hanging at the sides. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Feel the head balanced on top. Feel the skin stretched over the face. Feel the eyes and the socket. Feel that organic, aliveness of the body. Here and now. Now, bring your legs and feet back closer together. We'll do the head turning from right to left. On the in-breath, turn your head to the right as far as you comfortably can. Look over your right shoulder. There's a twist in the neck. You have a stiff neck, just be careful. Out breath, turn all the way back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In breath back to the right. Concentrate into the neck vertebrae. Out breath lift. In right. Out left. And next in breath, let the head stop in the middle. Feeling the whole body. We'll finish with the backward and forward bending sunburst exercise. Turn the palms so they're facing outwards and the little fingers touch together. On an in-breath, raise the hands up, level with your eyes. Begin spreading the arms apart as you bend back on the out-breath. Keep your eyes open, look at the ceiling. Feel the arch in the spine. Carefully lift up on the in-breath, keeping the arms out at the sides. On the out-breath, lower the arms and hands down towards the floor. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. You keep the legs straight so you can touch the floor. You begin lifting up, turn the palms outward. In breath, raise the hands up. Out breath, bend back, arms out to the side. In breath, up. Out breath, downward stretch. Begin lifting up, turn the palms outward, in breath, out breath. In, out. Third time, to hold a downward stretch longer. Feel all those sensations in the spine and legs. Bend the knees a little bit, carefully lift up. On an in-breath, bring your hands together at the chest. Out-breath, hands to the sides. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating with activated life force. Present moment, body-centered awareness. Starting point for any real deeper meditation. Okay, now let's mindfully come back to our seats, ready for the sitting. Friends, get comfortable in your meditation seat. Just try to align your spine and the back of your head in a straight line. Try to establish the natural inward curve of the lower lumbar vertebrae. See if you can kind of visualize or feel the spinal column going from the base of the spine up to the middle of your back. Join the base of the skull. Keep your chin level with the floor. Try to imagine or feel and your head, balancing your head on top of the spinal column, like balancing a soccer ball on the end of a broomstick. And gently close your eyes, feel your eyes resting in the sockets. From that point on the eyes, or feel the outline of the sitting body. Feeling the sense of the head on top, the arms at the sides, the clothing touching the skin. Feeling the feet tucked underneath the body, pressing the floor. That outline of the sitting body. And begin some deep, slow breathing, developing this basic mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Feel the last bit of air go out. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath a moment. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count our breaths from 1 to 10 to try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration, letting go of your thoughts. So the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath in a second. Breathing out. Also counting 1, feel the last bit of air go out. Next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. in 6, out 6, in 7, out 7, in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. Now follow that last out breath down to the end, and no longer deliberately try to breathe. Let the breath stay out a few seconds. Let the breathing come back in on its own. Continue to follow it. Keep your attention focused on the movements of the abdomen, the stomach, rib cage, the chest. Feeling those residual, shorter expanding and contracting sensations. Just knowing when the breath is coming in. Feel the pauses. And knowing when the breath is going out. Feeling the last bit of air go out. Sort of feel like being a scientist looking down through a microscope, observing the experiment of breathing. Tuning into the 4 phases of each breath cycle. The expanding in breath, the brief pause. The contracting out breath and the brief pause. Just over and over and over and over again. It's the ongoing present moment. This breathing body, sitting and breathing. To help stay focused and remember, you can use these brief mental reminders. In sitting, out, sitting. It's the ongoing, continuous present moment. This breathing, sitting body. In sitting, out, out, sitting, just remembering that much. It's not much to remember. In, sitting, out, sitting. Just letting your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keep the breathing body in the front of the awareness. So you're kind of just watching the body sitting and breathing with the eye of awareness. Start to feel the breathing process in the center of the larger sitting body. Best be alert to feel the brief pauses between the breath. Sometimes those pauses may be longer or shorter. Try to notice how each breath is different. In, sitting, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment, cultivating mindfulness and concentration. Mindfulness is noticing all the subtle movements of the breathing and the sensations. Concentration is not allowing the mind to get lost in thought, remembering sitting and breathing. Be alert for thoughts trying to sneak in, to steal your attention away. you find yourself lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body. Back to in, sitting. Out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. In, sitting. Out, sitting. Keep coming back to ground zero, the sitting, breathing body. Turn up the power of the mental microscope to notice more and subtler details, sensations. Of the breathing process, the breath going through this sitting body, different sensations generating. Breathing is constantly going on in the center of the body, but all around it, so many other sensations can be noticed, coming and going, clothing touching the outer skin, subtle pulsations, prickly sensations. Also being alert to notice any thoughts going through the back of the mind, wanting to steal your mind away. Gradually opening up to the flow of impermanence, the five aggregates, coming and going, arising and vanishing. Sensations, sounds, thoughts, perceptions. Coming and going through that present moment body awareness. From time to time, come back and do some deep, slow breathing, three-part breathing. Help stay grounded, awake in the body, moment by moment. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations come and go. Pleasure and pain come and go. Sounds come and go. Thoughts, images, memories come and go. Urges, emotions come and go. Thoughts of I, me, and mine come and go. These are all just a continuous flow of change and impermanence, the five aggregates, arising and vanishing continuously in their nature of impermanent and conditioned nature. And even the sense of yourself, the thought of your self, I, me, or mine, is just another perception, thought bubble floating through the awareness. you have a good sense of impermanence, and awareness of so many things just coming and going. Just try to feel like being an empty house with nobody home to answer the call, knocking on the doors and windows. Just letting that last little remaining sense of I or me fade away. what sensations or thoughts are triggered off by that sound vibration. Sabbi sankhara aniccati yada panyaya pasati atana bindati dukhi Esamago visuddhiya dukkha patacani dukkha bhaya patacani bhaya Sokha patacani sokha Ontu sabbi pipanino. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to briefly last, then vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to freedom. And may the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way, may all beings live with mindfulness and wisdom. Thus spoke the Buddha. And I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do the chanting on a long out breath to feel those vibrations in the body and mind. So take a deep breath. Breathe. Breathe. Mindfully place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep breath as you breathe in. Stretch your head back. Pull your hands on the knees to arch your spine back. Feel the sensation. Lift the head up on an in breath. On the out breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebra. Breathe in, lift the chin up level. On the out breath, let out the breath, Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So this brings our evening program to an end. And again, as a reminder, next week, actually, I'll be leaving, flying to Germany next Wednesday evening, late afternoon. So there won't be a program until near the end of June. So I'm coming back on the 18th of June, and that's also a Wednesday, but I won't be able to do a program that evening. So looks like around the 25th or so of June, that following Wednesday, should resume these programs. In the meantime, you can re-listen to previous Dhamma discussions or Dhamma talks on the YouTube channel, or listen to the guided meditations if that help you to meditate with them. You can do that through our YouTube channel. And basically try to keep up your daily meditation practice, and also the M&M, stopping once an hour throughout the day for 1 minute to let go of the future and bring the mind back to the present moment. Take a few deep breaths. Okay?
Yes, Bhante.
Until then, be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise. And Namo Buddhaya.
Namo
Buddhaya, Bhante, safe trip. We're so grateful.
Bhante.
Thank you so much, Bhante.
Bon voyage.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
You're welcome.